Hey, I'm Shane, and today I'm going to talk about the Thunderlord, the exotic heavy weapon in Destiny. In this video, I'll talk about the stats of the weapon, how I use it, and compare the different options that you have. To start off, you get the gun as a random drop, or you can buy it from Xur. He has never sold it, so he may not possibly sell the weapon. So your best bet though currently is to just run the raids or the weeklies, and hopefully you can get it that way. The gun has a pretty poignant and unique design. It's reflective of its own name, and it has lightning running down the side of the weapon, and that's animated, so I find that really cool because it really brings the weapon to life. According to the concept art, the Thunderlord's part railgun and part machine gun, and this comes across in the looks of the gun. The color scheme's a bit bland with a dark gray and blue, but it makes sense and it makes the weapon feel pretty powerful. And also when you fire the weapon, there's a bloom that's electric blue, kind of like a static discharge from it. In the weapon's firing sound, it's very crisp and loud, and it has kind of an almost mechanical clank afterwards to it, which is very cool. The sights of the weapon is kind of like a hybrid red dot sight with an iron sight mixed into it. It's very suited for the weapon. It zooms to the right range, so you don't ever have an issue with having too far of a zoom or not being able to aim the right distance, and you can really pick off targets with it. And I find the very clean design keeps it together very well. Only issue I have is that on the sight there's 4 little lightning bolts that point towards the center. It's not very noticeable, but it makes me cringe a little when I see it. I just don't love that part of it. Besides that, it's freaking awesome. The Thunderlord obviously deals arc damage because of its name, and the lightning down the side of it is a high impact machine gun with a low rate of fire, which allows you to get a lot of damage on targets for each shot you place, but the flip side that you're firing a little slower, which is actually nice because the rate of fire is very fast because it's a machine gun, so you can really get all your shots on the target without having issues there, and you can get critical shots as well. To start off, the skill tree is the first 3 upgrades, and I'll compare those later in the video. The next upgrade you get is Feeding Frenzy, which allows you to have kills increase the reload speed for a short period of time, and I love this perk. I've said it before, but I love reloading, and the Thunderlord is pretty much an enabler. After a kill, I always find myself reloading, even if it causes me to be a little bit susceptible to enemies coming around the corner. I do reload still often, and it's really useful. Even though the Thunderlord has a 38 shot magazine by default, which is very generous, and you can take targets down in 3 to 5 shots. So you can take down 6 enemies in 1 magazine, but you can reload faster after each kill, so you might as well because you'll be able to take out more at one time. The next 3 upgrades are Perfect Balance, Field Scout, and Flared Magwell, and all of these have good use in their own situations. Perfect Balance gives you the most stability, and I use this one because I use the Thunderlord at a greater range, so this gives me the best advantage there. Field Scout increases your magazine size to 60, which is really good, especially paired with the final perk on this weapon, so that's also an option. And then Flared Magwell, which stacks with the Feeding Frenzy perk from previous. It makes your weapon reload very fast all the time, and all of these are useful in different situations. It's really just pick the one that's best suited for your playstyle. I recommend Perfect Balance though, because that's the easiest one to use. The last upgrade is called Lightning Rounds, and this allows the weapon to fire faster and more accurately the longer you hold the trigger down. So basically, if you hold down the trigger, kick back, and just watch your ammunition drain away at an astonishing pace. This perk really is useful against heavy enemies that can take a lot of damage, so you can dish out the damage very quickly, and the Thunderlord's a real high damage machine, so it's very useful that way. And actually there's a bonus perk on this weapon. What, you might say? Well, let's go back to early 2014, and I'll put a picture of the Thunderlord's developed skill tree here. It looks different than the current one, but it shows the final perk, and it's called Rolling Thunder, which causes bullets to over-penetrate targets as well as explode, and this appears to not actually been removed from the code. Even though it's not a visible perk anymore, the weapon seems to trigger critical damage and cause an explosion every 1 to 3 shots on an enemy's head. I tested this on multiple planets and different types of enemies, different levels, so majors versus normal enemies, and it happens on all of them, so just aim for the head and hope for the best, and you can possibly get an explosion. It also happens in Crucible. I had it happen to me a few times as well, but usually enemies aren't clustered together that much, so the perk is mainly useful in crowd control and large amount of enemies for PvE. The next three options are the recoils. On the far left you have Akarat's Ballistics, which is a balanced option, then Field Scout in the middle, which has the most range and the most recoil, and then Linear Compensator, which has the least range but the most stability. Of these three, I typically use Linear Compensator, and in this video, footage here, I'm not actually trying to control the recoil from the weapons, because they're all very similar, and you won't really notice that big of a difference between them. But if you have the perfect balance perk on, I recommend Linear Compensator because it's just going to increase your stability and make it more effective. So overall, the Thunderlord is actually one of my favorite exotics, and I always keep it in my inventory. It's kind of like the Might of Multi-Tool of heavy weapons for me. It has solid range, solid recoil, heavy damage, and a good rate of fire, which is all great. Even though I don't utilize that final perk of having the increased rate of fire the longer you fire it, it's still very useful and performs great compared to any other legendary machine gun. Taking the weapon into the Crucible is awesome because you can actually get like 10 kills from one heavy ammo pickup and kill people at a longer range than most heavy machine guns. I do recommend picking the Thunderlord up while you're online because it's awesome. You have to play a little bit more conservatively because you can get picked off if you're being a little too aggressive with the weapon. But if you have 2 to 3 enemies, you can actually kill them quite easily, and I've done so a bunch. In PvE, the Thunderlord doesn't shine as bright, I find. Even though the final perk of having the explosions is really cool, and the increased rate of fire is great for bosses, situationally it's not as good all around compared to like a weapon like the Galahorn, Icebreaker, or Soros Regime, which just has passive perks that are always useful. Thunderlord is very like situational weapon for PvE actually, so it's good at large groups and one heavy enemy, but in between it's just a waste of ammo for you, and I recommend using maybe another weapon. But it's very usable and it's very good, so you can keep it in your inventory, and if you want to use it, you won't have an issue. That's all I have to say about the weapon. It's super powerful, it's an awesome heavy machine gun, it's probably one of my top 3 exotics. I highly recommend you picking it up if you can, and thanks for watching the video. If you have any questions that I never addressed in this video, just drop a comment below and I'll try my best to answer them. Thanks for watching though, and if you like this video, please consider subscribing and checking out my other gun reviews. And thanks for watching though, and I hope you have a great day.